live. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Chris Marti, the infamous Chris Marti.
That's fun.
For people that don't know who you are, man, explain who you are and what you do real quick.
I'm Chris. I'm Chris Marti. I play with Space Monster, and I don't know. That's what I do. I do some of that. I'm also a high-rise window cleaner, so I do that to get paid.
Why did you do the high rise thing? Are you an adrenaline junkie? You like being at high?
No, but I did
insanely-
houses for a while,
Sure.
and I was like, someone's got to do those buildings. How the
Do you make more money doing the big buildings?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you like,
Not just because it's more glass to clean, but like, do you get paid more because of the risk and the height? And
they don't have union window cleaners for houses either. So I have health insurance and stuff through my union.
Interesting, dude.
Way better setup with, I mean, Minneapolis actually has really good window cleaning wages, which isn't much actually. We're not making what you'd think, and so could definitely use more.
Do you own your own business as part of the union?
No.
Okay.
No. There's been talks about the company I just moved to about a co-op, but I was talking with my union, and it's just a little different.
Very communistic of you to join a co-op.
Fuck yeah, you should though.
I'm just fucking.
I mean,
no, I'm not
if
against
capitalism
co-ops at all.
is going to ever make sense, it's going to have to be with a co-op. I mean, think about if you shared profits with your target or whatever, you would probably cash your shit ton better.
I mean, we do that though. It's called stocks.
Yeah,
you know?
but they don't give that to the guy they're giving minimum wage, who's getting just enough hours to,
True.
I mean,
you got me there.
Profit sharing.
Some of them
sharing for all though would be good.
Some of them do though. Like a lot of those companies do offer profit sharing, and way back in the day, I don't know if this is true anymore, but people from Apple and Microsoft way back in the day were offered two things. At the end of the year, they could take a regular yearly bonus or they could take a stock option.
Yeah.
And most of the ones took a stock option, and they're all multimillionaires out.
Yeah, because they were smaller businesses, and like you get to know your people, and
they also believed in the future of that company.
They were all building it and grow. And I'm saying, like, now if you work for Apple at the Apple store, not only does your boss, like, he knows your name, he definitely's got your address on paperwork, but he doesn't actually like get to know you, or
that's true,
or
I can't really argue with that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if it's gonna thrive, it's gonna we're in Minneapolis right now. If it's gonna survive, it's gonna actually need to start cooperating with everyone a little bit.
So what's Space Monster up to, man?
Nothing.
You guys still playing out?
No, we did Galactic Get Down.
When was that?
That was.
And what the fuck is when was it? And what the fuck is Galactic Get Down?
Galactic Get Down is a great music festival. My buddy Joe Scarpolino.
Either way, it's a dope ass name.
No, I screwed up his names for years, calling him Scallop Potatoes because I thought it was funny.
Scallop Potatoes.
So I'd usually be drunk. I'd be like, Scallop Potatoes. And now when I try to like say his name actually, my brain just goes and fucks
good
it up.
Luck.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Good luck with that, buddy.
But him, Seahorse Productions, which is Jess Anderson, who's always been like our number one fan, and then John Marin, who I helped, he does Vicarious Visions, which is a video thing. And he found us at Shangri-La when I did all these memes and had all these monkeys on stage, and he was like, I love it. And he's like, a little older, and he's like, I always wanted to do all this video stuff. And I'm like, well, my dad started the first HD film company in town, so I'm all drunk and whatever, and I got all.
Is he still doing that?
Yeah, he's doing it great. He did
really.
Yeah, and so like
my
dad isn't doing that. No, he stops.
Gotcha.
But like I started working for. He brought me on as free labor when I was younger, so I was like doing all these commercial shoots
at his video company. You're saying?
Yeah, we did like Comcast, Best Buy commercials, weird stuff.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, and you just bring me on at like 14 and be like, this, and this, and then they started paying me. And Super Bowl, one of them, all of a sudden Snoop Dogg. Anyways, one of his friends hits me up and is like, hey, you want to do a shoot? It's at a music studio. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. That's all I know, but I'm a musician, so I'm like, sweet. And I show up, I'm like, who are we filming? And somebody's like, Snoop Dogg. I'm like, I'm like, the Snoop Dogg or a Snoop
How old
Dogg?
are you?
I was probably 22, but my dad and my parents are sober, and my dad's friend got this, and Snoop Dogg shows up,
And this is here in the cities.
yeah, it was years ago, but like, so Snoop Dogg's getting all, you know, whatever, having a grand old time, and my dad's friends are just like, you know, he's sober as shit, and everyone's giggling and laughing because every cut he's got a guy who rolls him a blunt and he sparks one up, and it's so like. I'm all my dad's friends are super high, and I'm like, I'm just as, you know, like, what the hell, you know, it's everything's weird, and it was just, yeah. So,
And your parents didn't smoke or
no, my parents
Get down on it.
have never done it.
that's hilarious.
Well, they
dude.
did do it, but they don't do it anymore. My entire life, they've never drank with me or anything.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
But they were they probably caught a little bit of a contact high just being in that room.
we all did. It was funny. 'Cause my dad wasn't there, but his friends were, who got me the job, which was even more weird because I was like,
Oh, so your dad wasn't even
he had
there?
been retired, and I'm still getting calls to do shoots, and I'm like, and then it's my dad's friend who, you know, I'm not going out and drinking with afterwards
So
or
did
hanging.
you meet Snoop?
Yeah, I hung out with him. I was like, you know,
What was that like?
it was weird. He, you know, I'm just a white boy. He's like, you know, it was just funny. It was cool.
Did he fuck with you? Like in a good way? Like in a fun way? Like, hey, what's up, little white boy? What you
No,
up to?
no, because like the reason I got the job is because like I've, you know, been around celebrities before, and the key is to not be, especially if you're getting
you
paid.
don't give a fuck.
If you're getting paid, you don't ogle and open your mouth and just make dumbass
Right.
comments. You
I'm gonna
kind of
grab another beer. You
Yeah.
want one?
no, I got one. Yeah, you don't make dumbass comments. So it was more like, yeah, I wasn't gonna ogle the guy or make it weird. The one weird thing was he ended up going to the restroom at some point with the opposite sex and coming out, and I'm getting paid to like make sure everything looks good, and it was weird. His fly was down, and so I looked at the hairdresser, female, and I was like, "Hey, you do me a favor. Will you let Snoop know his?" Because I'm down on the ground, like holding this light, like I'm like in this really terrible spot.
Sure.
He's far enough away, but I'm noticing. So I look at her and I'm like, "Hey, could you?"
So was
tell-"
this a music video?
No, it was a Super Bowl commercial. So that he got there all late, and he had like one of them hockey hats you see ninth graders wear in Minnesota,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
wool
yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And he had like a
So this is during the Super Bowl?
like not this last year, the Super Bowl like 4, 5,
That's
6
what I
years
okay,
ago.
because I was like, fuck, man, you said you were like 22, so this is a long time ago.
Yeah, black and yellow. It was the
Must have been the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers,
then.
and I think it might have been Green Bay or something.
Okay, that
But
makes
he-
sense.
but he was
That-
doing-
yeah, so that's 2010, I think.
Yeah, so we're talking 10 years ago. I was pretty close.
I think it would have been January 2011, but it would have been the 2010 season. Sorry, I'm going football nerd on it for a second, but yeah, I'm just kind of trying to keep up with this timeline. So, but for some reason, he came to Minnesota to shoot this commercial.
Yeah, I just work here. I don't know why. Yeah, like I
Bizarre.
said,
Okay.
like I said, they gave me no information. They just told me it was a music studio, and I'm like, okay, I love music. You know, I like getting paid too.
You know, you're going to shoot something. Do you even know it's a commercial when you're going into it?
yeah, I know it's for Pepsi.
Okay, so you know you're going to shoot a Pepsi commercial. Do you know Snoop's coming?
No.
Okay.
No, that was the
So
funny
it's
part.
go here.
Yeah.
You're shooting a Pepsi commercial.
Your job is to do this stuff that you already know how to do. It's at this place. Okay,
Gotcha.
cool. And then I get there, and I'm like, what are we shooting? You know, Snoop Dogg. You know, and I didn't even really believe it. It kind of
That's all they say is you're
That's-
shooting Snoop Dogg.
That's I was like, a Snoop Dogg or the Snoop Dogg, and that's like word for word what I said. Because I was like, you know, maybe there's like other people who name themselves Snoop Dogg. I don't know.
Right. No, I know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's where I went with it.
So you're sitting down on the ground. You see this fucking fly open. You ask this girl, Kate, can you give him a heads up?
Will
How-
you please let him know that his fly is down? And she looks at me and goes, hell no. I'm like, fuck.
Here, get that a little closer to you.
Yeah, so I'm like, fuck. And then
You can move that. You don't have to get closer. Just pull it closer
I'm,
to you.
you know, whatever. And then so I look at his manager, and I'm like, hey, would you do me a favor and let Snoop Dogg know his fly's down? And the guy gets mad. He just gives me this growl, this sneer, and I'm like, he's like, fuck no. And I'm like,
Do you have any
What?
idea how pissed he's going to be knowing that he had his fly down the whole time.
No.
One
I didn't
said
let him
anything?
shoot. They didn't shoot my job. I'm still doing my job. I have not let the take has not gone. I've just noticed them walk in. There's like, people are setting up the lights. They're doing the camera angles. They're doing this and that.
This is so funny.
It takes a while before they go, take one. And even if it is take one, that's why you have editors. So then pretty much it became my fucking job to tell Snoop Dogg his fly was down. And he gave me the most sad look, like it was a look like, why are you looking there? He was just like, I was so, that's my Snoop Dogg story. And it's not a proud one.
So you did tell him.
I had to tell him because everybody said, fuck no. And I couldn't move from my spot. And those were the only people near. And if the manager of Snoop Dogg isn't going to tell him his fly's down, who am I supposed to go to at that point? There's not that many people that even care that I'm in the room.
So what do? You're down on the ground. You said holding this light.
I'm next to it to make sure it doesn't fall because there's a bunch of people over here. And then
so what do you do? Do you whisper? Do you go? Psst,
no, I got his full attention once he was being done because like he's got stuff from people going.
So
around
you called him over?
No, I wasn't even that far. I'm about as far as from him as your guitar.
So what do you say? You go, Snoop.
Yeah, it was probably something like, hey Snoop. It flies down, and then he gave me this look of utter disappointment as to why I'm looking there, and I just thinking to myself, like, that's my job right now. I mean, that's my job, and I'm so sad about it. I'm like, God damn it.
That's hilarious, dude. That's amazing. I don't have any super embarrassing celebrity stories. I know a few celebs. I've definitely had a couple bad interactions with celebs, but nothing worth telling, nothing like funny or weird or awkward. It was just like, couple times somebody was a little bit more of a dick than I thought, but again, I'm not trying to like, I've been talking to a couple buddies about this. Like one of the reasons I say, and I withhold the names of these people is because the point of the podcast is not to put people on blast or pontificate or put people in a box or attack people who can't, they're not here to defend themselves. Like it's just kind of an ethical
thing,
I
hope he's not offended because that was not my intention. I just thought the whole interaction was, I could have been doing everything wrong, honestly. It's how I felt. I came away from that going, I think I'm doing all I can.
So why'd you get out of that? Why did you stop doing it?
It wasn't that I got out of it. It was that it was always freelance. It was always like my dad's friends or whatever hit me up. They liked my work ethic. But I also was, never ever getting 40 hours a week. It was more like
supplemental almost.
Yeah, it started off when I had a lot more free time, and it was like, oh, here's a week, go do this. I'm like, great, and then I could go do something else for a week.
Gotcha.
That was planned, and they gave you. It's like it's like booking a gig. You have plenty of time to like market in your calendar. You just got to make sure that you have the type of work,
the supplement,
where that's available to you, and then slowly, that's why when I started doing window cleaning, because I could get a bunch of hours, but it was houses, and it was good and all that. But then I moved, back down here, and I was like, hey, how do you,
right?
Just curious about it. The first guy I worked for was interesting. We worked on the U.S. Bank Stadium when it got built, cleaned all these beams that nobody else could get to.
Oh, no shit.
Because all these bolts and welders drop all this stuff onto the beams. So it was like, go walk all the way out there and grab this bolt,
Sure.
It was really dumb, but it takes a lot of rigging and work to get that far out on a bunch of beams.
That's pretty fucking wild.
Like the roof.
Dude. It's pretty wild. I've followed you on social media for a while, and seeing your pictures each day, it's like, man, that's fucking terrifying. I'm not exactly afraid of heights by any stretch of the imagination, but that's one of those things where it's like, holy fuck, you are so far up there.
That's the fun part.
I get it. I ain't knocking you. I'm just saying you got to be a little bit out of your fucking mind to do that job.
You're out of your league the first fucking 2-3 years. I think it took me
out of your league.
Yeah, you're dealing with gravity, and then you're hoping you're understanding all the science and the math that's going on. I mean, I remember the first year being like, how much weight does this rope hold? And being like 5,600 pounds, and I'm like drilling it in my head, 5,600 pounds, because like once you get over the edge, you're thinking about the knot you made and how much this rope is good. You know,
Right.
like that first year, I mean, not so much now. Now I understand it and I'm not even that worried about it. But
Right.
especially on that stadium, like we had to do it down the middle. And the first time I had to do a drop without a wall, there's one thing to be dropping and like, yeah, I just point the camera down, but I'm not looking down most of my day. You know, it's like a
Right.
couple times, like throw the rope over, make sure it touches the ground. You know, that's your first job. And then make sure you're not as good and that the rope's not going to cut. And once you figure that out, I don't know, it just becomes easier. I was definitely
I see what you're saying.
I was
though.
definitely
I
afraid of
understand.
heights when I first started, but it's way better being the guy outside of that cubicle looking in than the guy being on the cubicle looking out, being like, wow, that guy's day looks so cool. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, your day does not. You
Right.
know, I'm way happier. I'm not, even if you are making 4 times as much as me.
Right.
I'm
Right.
still not impressed with how you spend your most of your week.
and happiness. I mean, here that's funny because like that's come up a couple times recently on the podcast about like the money involved with what we try to do as musicians nowadays, and even younger struggling comics and shit. You don't make a lot of money, and they're like, it's not about the money, and it's like, I get that, but it also is about the money. But here's the point: is there's an old adage that's kind of a misnomer, and it's that money can't buy happiness. Okay.
True.
Well, it's kind of a misnomer.
If you don't have any money, yeah, it's going to be hard to find happiness. But once you like can find a median, that money is going to be far less important to the way you spend your week.
And that's the thing is like, here's the thing is like, I get it. Money doesn't buy happiness, but I'd rather be miserable and rich than miserable and broke. And where I'm really going with this is there's only a certain level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I'll just rephrase it. Your quality of life and your overall contentment and happiness only increases to approximately 90 grand, and then something like that, or 98 grand, or whatever it is. And then anything past that, the studies and the surveys have shown there's nobody has an actual increase in overall happiness making past that.
Yeah.
That's just the number in America, right? And here's the thing is, when we were kids,
So
that was like 35, 40 grand.
Yeah,
right? It's an arbitrary number, but if you're less than that, the lack of money causes issues.
yeah.
Right? Once you get to that 90, and here's the thing is like, I'm not saying you can't be happy making less than 90 grand. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, we know once you make 35, 40 grand a year as a single person, or 70 to 80 grand as a couple, you're no longer desperately trying to make it week to week, paycheck to paycheck. You're still not balling. You might not even be able to save very much.
But you're not stressing.
As much. You're still stressing, because trust me, Kate and I were there for a while. Right. And it was like, in that bracket, we really still had to budget, but we could go out to dinner and have like a nice dinner once a month.
Yeah.
And every Tuesday we could afford to do $5 Tuesdays at AMC. You know what I mean? Like, we could still find cheap ways to go do things. And then all of a sudden you get to the like $40,000 to $50,000 number as an individual, right? Or 80 to 100 grand as a couple. Now all of a sudden you can actually save a little bit and go on a vacation once a year or once every 2 years. You're not balling out of control on your vacation, but you can do that. So like, your quality of life and your overall happiness goes up a little bit more. And that keeps going, scales upwards to about 90 grand as for the individual. Because if you're an individual making 90 grand, you can buy a house, you can get married, you can raise kids, because you're assuming that your wife is going to bring in a similar, or husband in this case, husband or wife in this case, they're going to bring in a similar dollar amount. So when I'm saying these individual amounts, you just assume it's going to be doubled.
The mortgages and the leases.
Yeah, and you assume it's going to be doubled when you get married, right?
Yeah.
So at 90 grand, you're making a household income of like 180. And that seems insane. Like, oh man, fucking that's so much money. And it's like, it's really not. The point is that family at that point can finally really do everything right, like put money away for the college, fucking always have money for Jimmy's baseball and Tina's fucking dance lessons and
Volleyball
or
or
vice
whatever.
versa, you know what I mean? And yeah, volleyball and fucking the college funds, like I said, and the mortgage is always paid. There's money in the bank, like they can afford to get the car repaired when shit breaks down. Their money is no longer an issue, right? They're still not rich by any means. They're just middle class, but it's no longer a problem. Like, unless they're fucking horrible with managing their money, once you get to that $180,000
Yep.
household income, money is no longer the source of any of your problems. Unless, like I said, like there's always exceptions. If you're a fucking drug addict, if you're a gambling addict, if you know what I mean, you can mismanage 180 grand a year real fucking easy.
Oh yeah,
Real fucking easy.
yeah.
But it can't buy you happiness, but eliminating money problems definitely makes your life a lot better, and it allows you to be more happy. And for real, like most marriages, I'm not going to fucking pull up the numbers on it, but the vast majority of marriages that end in divorce, the number one issue is money problems.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How they manage that money, how they spend that money, who's making the money, what's going on with the money.
Stressing.
It's a huge factor for a lot of Americans. And the point is like under 35 grand, you're probably pretty fucking miserable. And I'm saying that as if you're living in the city, like where I'm at, where you're at. Like, it's fucking expensive to live in Minneapolis. It's the third most expensive city in the country, according to a study that came out after the Super Bowl here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So if you're only making 35 G's a year here, you're fucking broke. You got to go 35, 40 miles outside of the city for 35 grand a year for you to be comfortable. And you're still not going to have anything nice.
And the guys
Minnesota's
and the guys that I
expensive.
worked with who bought houses outside of the city, their reward for getting a good sized house is a drive through traffic.
An hour
it's
drive.
Like, oh my God. And like my whole thing is like, God, I don't know. I love the fact that I spend about 10 to 15 minutes getting from my house to my job site downtown.
Right.
You know, like I'm just a little bit outside of the city, just, you know, I'm in Minneapolis, but just barely, which is fine.
Yeah, because people ask me the same thing. Why do you stay in Minneapolis? And I'm like, well, that's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Number one,
shit to do.
Number one, no, believe it or not, it's not the activities or the entertainment.
No, I'm just,
here's number one.
Me,
logistically, I am 20 minutes from just about everything. If you're in the city,
yeah,
I'm 20 minutes from everything. If I move north to Fridley, which is only 10 minutes that way, it is now 40 minutes to get to fucking Mall of America, right?
Yeah.
No traffic, just straight drive time. 40 minutes.
Yep.
Here it's 20, even though that's only 10 minutes away.
Well, and like even
it doesn't add up. You go, well, if it's 10 minutes away and it's 20 minutes, then that's a 30-minute drive. No, that's not how it fucking works, man.
No.
Like going from Fridley to fucking Mall of America is a 40-minute drive, even though it's only 20 from here. It's because when you're here, I have quick access to every freeway, all the music venues. As a local performing musician, you know what this is like. Every venue is within a half hour, even all the way down in Bloomington. Still maximum at the other end of, you know what I'm talking, almost like Burnsville, like still 30 minutes. I fucking moved to Bloomington, and now all of a sudden I gotta go play in fucking Fridley again. I'm back up to a 40-minute drive with no traffic. It's just and then if you gotta go home after work and then make it to the venue, it's like you can really fuck yourself real fast. Plus, here's the thing, is as a musician, we've had to supplement our income with like day jobs and part-time jobs. So in the city, I got access to more jobs. And furthermore, that same job I'm referring to, if my car breaks down, I got easy public transportation access with the bus and the light rail. And then I can also fucking walk or ride a bike to most of these places.
Or, you know, get a reasonable Uber in a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable price.
Sure.
As long as it's not 3 a.m. on a Saturday.
Right.
You know.
Right. I mean, it's just, it's I don't want to say it's easier or it's even more convenient, but here's what it is. Living in the city gives me options and flexibility. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, when shit goes down, like during the riots, don't get me wrong, it's real enticing to go, man, maybe we should sell the house and move to the burbs. But I have to remind myself of all those things I just mentioned to you now.
No,
like, I'm giving all of this up for that.
This is,
I don't
2020
know.
is the abnormality. It's not the norm. And that's the problem I have with the context online is people like living in Burnsville or wherever claiming, you know, everything's so terrible and this and that. And it's like,
Shut your privileged ass
no,
up.
it's pretty much like they are calling for a boycott of downtown. And like economically, they're going to be complaining about it 4 years from now when their business suffers because, you know what I mean? It's like it just adds, it's a domino effect of shittiness.
Dude, if you want to boycott downtown, then don't come.
They didn't to begin with, but now they're
Right?
actively online complaining about places they didn't walk to at 8 p.m. beforehand.
Right?
And I'm like,
Fuck
dude,
those
I'm down
people.
here every day. I'm like, granted, I'm not down here at 2 a.m., but that's because there's no music. Was what I was telling this one guy online. I was like, there ain't no music. If there was music, I would be down here at 2 a.m. No problem. I mean, y'all left. You know, you want to complain about bad people and bad situations. It's like you're not out here supporting businesses in Minneapolis like you could be, like you should be.
My favorite one is
So
when the
everybody
shit
else
hits
who
the-
doesn't support them is actually down here just doing whatever the fuck they want.
My favorite one is when shit hits the fan and motherfuckers are like, you need to get out of there.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, why is everyone's instinct to run, flee,
Yeah.
what, and let somebody else deal with the problem?
'Cause
And
who's
let
gonna-
somebody burn
yeah.
my fucking house down?
Yeah.
What the actual fuck are you suggesting? You need to get out of there. Why? That just gives them free reign over another house.
Well, and
If everybody dipped out of the city during a riot, more shit would be destroyed.
yeah, and like, you know
what I mean?
you're not helping your neighbor by letting your house get robbed either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Collectively as a community.
Right.
Like, you know, it sucks that it happens.
Nor is it helping the economy because
It's not
now you have to
helping-
make an
it's not-
insurance claim, and when a bunch of people make
Dominoes.
insurance claims, you know, if it even covers rioting or looting,
It helps some asshole politician's narrative
Ooh, I should write that down.
one way or the other.
I'm meeting with a new insurance agent to switch. I should write that down. I want to know if rioting
is covered.
or looting. I know it's not covered for businesses.
Well,
I know it's not.
That would technically be burglary at your house.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. Well, how would that not be burglary if someone
I don't know. I'm assuming because insurance works
unless
similar
someone
to
hijacked a bus, set it on fire, and ran it into your house? That
Dude,
would
but
still be arson.
But as a business, I know verifiably that insurance for your business will not cover rioting or looting.
No, I think it's if it's most businesses don't include it in what they're trying to keep insured.
No, they won't cover it. Like, insurance companies will not offer a commercial business. They will not cover rioting and looting. They won't do it. So that's why, like, when people are trying to say, well, I'm okay with people looting like Target because they're insured. Not for that. That's why Target announced they're closing that store, because there's over $2 million in damage in one fucking store, and insurance isn't going to cover it. So they're like, okay, well, fuck it. We'll just close the store, because they still need to be a business. And so what are they going to, they didn't murder George Floyd, so they're going to eat $2 million. That's why people like me are pissed off about the rioting, because it's like, dude, you just took jobs
We're not
from
there
people.
yet where you can honestly say, like, you want to let the justice system work. We're not there yet where they're paying anything yet.
Who? Target?
Target. I mean, yeah, they had to close the store and they're losing money right now, but the government is also talking
But I don't care
all
about
this
Target.
shit.
I'm saying they took the jobs from the people.
Yeah, true.
So now those people in that neighborhood don't have somewhere to go buy clothes and shit. That's the reason we like Walmarts and Targets, is because they have everything, and it's easy access at fair prices for pretty much anybody in just about any economic income level, right? So when you burn that Target down and you go, well, they're insured. Well, no, they're not.
But
and now the store's not coming back. So now you as a community have less access, and all the people in that neighborhood that worked at that Target no longer have fucking jobs.
But isn't the part of the argument, at least that what I'm hearing from, BLM or I'm not even going to label who these people are, but some of the conversations I've heard down there are more like, stay away from small businesses. And it seems to be that they tend to single out more corporation style things, which is trying to de-escalate gentrification and get more small businesses to be able to afford those spots and have that business.
But you don't. Here's the
I know that's not going to happen overnight. But I'm just saying,
I'm not going to address that. Is what I'm going to address. The fact
that's what
is,
I'm hearing.
But that's not the problem.
No,
the problem is taxes in the city. Small businesses literally can't afford to survive.
Yeah,
that's why we have these corporations.
You don't think that prices are going to drop after this down here?
No, they're raising property taxes
for everything.
Yeah, because that's how they're going to pay for the rebuild. Like, they already announced it. That's the thing is, like, when you riot, it costs me money. Like, literally, I'm the one that has to pay for it. I already live in a poor neighborhood. We already have a hard time paying for everything. I already live in a fucking. You've seen my kitchen. You know what I mean?
What about these buildings downtown? I mean, I don't know. The
insurance won't cover it.
Every single one of these buildings
insurance
is owned by a bank that is making millions.
No,
of dollars.
They're not owned by a bank.
Well, the buildings that I've cleaned, a lot of them, there's a plenty owned by Wells Fargo. There's U.S. Bank down there.
Yep.
There's
not saying they can't afford it.
I'm not saying that banks are the only ones that own it, but some of these like big,
I'm not saying those people can't afford to fix their own shit. Is what I'm saying the Targets, the Walmarts, the Tires Plus, the Goodyear tires, like, because they hit a Goodyear tire in South Minneapolis last night after they got out of downtown. They hit a fucking Goodyear tire. Those places are not going to get covered for insurance.
No.
It's not how it works. And here's the real key. Okay. When you're a person or an organization and you attack civilians or civilian businesses, private businesses, for political aims, that is the literal definition of terrorism. That's why it becomes such a huge problem, is because Target didn't kill George Floyd. Target has zero responsibility or effect or control over the police force or the city council or the state government or the federal government. They have no control. They might have a little bit of say in their lobbying power as the retail industry, but when it comes to impacting day-to-day operations, it's a non-factor. So then when people try to say, well, we need the government to change, so we're going to attack Target and loot it, that's a literal act of terrorism. And now you've given Trump, an actual fascist, a green light to unleash Department of Homeland Security on American citizens.
No, and I get that. That is the immediate, zoomed in view of what's going on, and everything you said is 100% correct. And
the only way any of that's getting paid for,
I have a hard time just looking at it
is by property taxes. So my property taxes just skyrocketed.
And this is naive, but I think that I have a hard time looking at it in just that aspect. I look at it from a little bit more. I like history. I like documentaries. I like reading up on it. And if you look at MLK and where this movement has gone, and you look at you want to talk about Second Amendment, talk about Black Panthers, and the fact that you would have been able to hold your rifle walking downtown legally if the government hadn't gotten scared of a bunch of Black Panthers,
I agree with
feeding their citizens and
if
and
anybody's
staying well
confused,
armed.
if anybody's confused and they don't know what the fuck he's talking about, it's called the 1976 Mulford Act, where Ronald Reagan passed the first sweeping gun legislation in the state of California while he was governor. Because here's what happened, and I'm trying to give the bullet point version of this, but basically, police were literally terrorizing Black communities in California, in the hood. So I may be fucking up the neighborhoods, but like Compton and shit like that, things famous neighborhoods we hear about now. And so is what happened is, this is also, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, this is also part of the reason a lot of the gangs developed, like I think there's at least three. There's at least three.
Give a shit
one of them was called the GDs, which now stands for like Gangster Disciples or some shit like that, or God's Disciples or whatever. But it started off standing for growth and development, and they started that gang to protect their own community from the cops that were terrorizing them, and then also from other gangbangers, because the cop, just like our neighborhood, the cops won't show up to help us.
Exactly.
So they started their growth and development organization, and they started policing their own neighborhoods with fully automatic weapons, AK-47s at the time, and that scared the shit out of white people in California, and they passed and banned the first gun control
and instead of thinking of
legislation.
Black Panthers, just put that Kyle dude's face, because I was like, that dude, I don't know. It's just weird. Like,
the Kyle situation, we don't have to touch on that because
I just find it weird that all right, we won't touch on it.
I'm just saying the Kyle situation is just so convoluted right now. Yeah. And there's very few people who have actually taken the time. Like, here's what we should do.
You're right. We shouldn't talk about it because
you and I had here's what we should talk about is you and I had a very, very amazing conversation through texts today.
Yeah.
Having a debate and an argument, and we actually not only resolved it without disrespecting, but we continued to reaffirm the respect for the other person's opinion, and it never, ever even got contentious. No insults were thrown. There was no me going, dude, you're naive. There's no you going, hey, you're fucking insane. There was none of that.
No.
And if what happened today with us happened in text form, if most people could replicate that online, I don't think we'd be here today. But the problem is when people start talking about these specific situations, because I was in an online thread doing the exact same thing as we were doing in private text with you, and I was trying to give these people information, and I'm like, no, you need to go watch this video and this video and this video, and I quote, I refuse to watch that video. I do not need to do any more digging. This is plain and simple. I'm quoting, like, because I've been in this conversation like 6 times a day in different threads, and I'm just randomly quoting random people, but shit like that, like, people are refusing to look at anything. They hear one narrative that they get riled up about, and they can't even consider looking at information that might give them a new point of view. That's the problem, and that's on both sides. That's on the righties and on the lefties. Everyone seems, and I'm generalizing.
No,
everyone seems to be doing that right now.
Yeah, and Facebook is.
That's why I don't want to talk about the Kyle thing in detail.
Facebook has turned into a way for you to vent your whatever, and you don't actually want to listen to anyone really. I mean, it's self-perpetuating, whatever you want, it'll just self-perpetuate.
Yeah, you're either going to be in an echo chamber or you're going to be in like some sort of fucking bloodbath.
No, but all I was saying is, like, it's just weird that if you want to go after gun rights, you have to look at where it came from, and like the broader picture of it all is that this movement, or at least entities of it, have tried lots of different ways. They've tried it peacefully. They've tried it
because you're not anti-gun like most people would consider, but you're also not pro-gun. You don't like guns, right?
No, I don't own a gun. I don't have a problem with guns,
but you don't like them. Like, it's not something you're into. You don't want to. You don't own a gun. You don't like.
I have a bunch of roommates also with their own stories, and for me, I don't want to bring a gun into my house, and I don't know.
But you specifically said, like, before the podcast, like when you came over to help out during the first riot.
Yeah, no, I did not.
Like,
I don't want a gun.
I don't want a gun.
I don't.
That's not. And that's what I think is dope, and that's what I think's really cool about you is you're like, that's not me.
No, like I very adamantly believe that you should not be going to a protest with a gun. If you own that business, if you own that property, and the people next to you that have guns and they have permits to do it, by all means, do that. I think that's fine. But for me, going to any sort of event like that with a firearm puts yourself at edge first, and then it doesn't take much for you to I feel like I don't know. I feel like I could easily overreact by the wrong shit. You know what I mean?
Easy.
And like, and then you look at it fucking an hour later, and you're like, whoa. Like, if I learned anything from protests, you do not understand everything that is going on at the moment, and you do need to make split-second decisions. You do need to move. But you probably don't need to be pointing that at anybody. I mean,
no, but some people are going down there with the weapons now to protect the protesters against the fucking cops, because we've seen it. Which is
what this whole thing is developed into, and that's what happens when the police start, giving people free passes to have guns, and then 2 minutes later they're going to be really worked up when a bunch of black men show up with guns, and you know what I mean. It's going to look. I hope they can continue their narrative
I
when the picture
love
changes.
that shit.
I do too. But when the picture changes,
When
they better have
let
the
me
same.
put it this way.
They better have the same restraint.
This is
for
why
a
I
bunch
love
of
it.
armed black men that they did for a 17-year-old child with an assault rifle.
Well,
is my point.
that whole again, I don't want to get into that because that
just saying,
situation
grown
is so
men-
nuanced. Here's
grown
what I
men
want. Here's what I want to see.
Should be
I want
the
to
only
see.
ones out there with that. Shit.
I want
Or
to see.
women.
I want
I
to
don't
see
care,
the
but
entire
adults.
I want to see the entire black community become the same type of gun-toting enthusiasts as all the redneck white dudes we see, the
No, I feel you.
America stereotype.
I feel you.
If we can balance that out, the government will truly fear the entire population. Because that's the thing.
No,
Is like,
yeah, you're right. You're
the
100%
the
right.
only
And that's
reason,
what I'm saying. Power to the people.
only
in that regard.
exactly the only reason any version of our government, police or any of them, have the balls to do what they do in poor communities is because they think they're unorganized and they're vulnerable because they don't have weapons. And furthermore,
Well, they
there's
disarm
certain
the ones
cities,
that do.
but there's certain
phony
cities
drug
that also
laws and
ban guns, right? So like inner city Chicago, no guns. Inner city New York, no guns. So it's easy for the police and other government organizations to exploit that opportunity. It's kind of like, and I'm not necessarily in this camp, but it's kind of that putting a gun-free zone thing up is like a free pass to school shooters. Like they know there's no guns in that suburb, so I can just walk in with an assault rifle and shoot up a school and nobody's going to be able to stop me. I'm not saying putting guns in everyone's hands is going to stop every fucking mass shooting. That's not what I'm saying.
But like,
But the logic does sort of make sense when you start to think about that. Like if every government entity knew that every poor community was as equally and heavily armed as every redneck in the suburbs, they would think not only twice, but 3 times about some of the choices they make and the use of force that they make. Knowing if they fuck up a one random black dude on the street, that all the neighbors could come out fully armed and surround him, they're going to hesitate to fucking violate rights. You know what I mean?
And I agree with you 100%, and we can go that route. But while we're talking about police reform and how to address that problem, let's also...
That's legislative.
I get that.
That's got to handle that.
Some people are talking about training. If you're going to go that route with a lot more of the population, I feel like you should also go that way with training with them. I don't think a little quiz that you can do within a week is going to train anyone well enough to understand, rules of engagement. If we're going to be having situations like that, you know what I mean? Like I'm all for it, but then make some like private entities, maybe even like driver's ed, where they can do more in-depth classes.
Right.
If you are going to conceal and carry with a handgun, you get this class. If you think that you're going to be defending, and you don't know when a riot's going to pop off and not everyone's going to have it. But if you're going to be with a group, someone better be that trained. You know what I mean? Even if you're a militia or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like even the Army has people where that dude is putting the orders, and rules of engagement are very important. You look at some of the vets talking about how police handle shootings in America, as far as someone being turned in their back and getting shot without a gun in their hand, and if he did the same thing in Iraq or Afghanistan, he could be brought up on murder for that shit.
Until that dude's reaching for a weapon.
Until he is reaching for a weapon.
Right. So then you get into that gray area, and this is where, and this is key, because we're kind of touching on the Jacob Blake thing, right? So here's where I have a new philosophy I still have yet to hear anybody actually bring up. I call them melee officers. You remove guns from this first responding wave. Okay, so first responding police officers don't even have guns. Okay, maybe they got a taser, they have cuffs, they have some other, no batons, because I've seen cops beat the shit out of people with batons, right? And in Jacob Blake's case, he's already got his gun drawn. And the cop says, don't move. And he goes around to the car. Here's the point. Clearly, he had ample time and opportunity to tackle him to the ground and restrain him and prevent him from going for that gun.
What about them rubber fucking guns?
Fuck the rubber bullets. I don't want any weapons.
No, but
here's my point.
I'm just saying,
here's
like,
what I'm getting at, though. Hold on. Here's
Okay.
what I'm getting at. I don't want any weapons in this case because the reason a cop will logically say, well, I can't tackle this guy and jujitsu him down to the ground because he could take my gun and shoot me with it. Okay, get rid of the gun then. Problem solved. And here's the point. If you're and maybe you have two officers, right? So you don't have one guy able to overpower one weak cop or a small chick, even if she's badass. Like, you don't want to put people in vulnerable positions like that. But then if a gun is shown, those officers are forced to fall back and call in an actual, like, armed police officer. Because now we know that a gun is established. However, there's still a third step. Even the officer,
which they typically do anyways. If they have a gun and the dude's white and he's held in his house, they're gonna be like, they're gonna call more people in. But it doesn't take long.
But let's concrete the word you said, rules of engagement. Yeah. I want a rule that from now on, I don't give a fuck if you see a weapon or not. Cops are not allowed to shoot until they've been shot at. We have the military that already has these rules. We have all kinds of other things like this in place. And that's to protect other people in other countries. But we have a police force that isn't giving our own citizens the same rights. And I don't care if he's white or in the suburbs held up in his house with an auto rifle, or if he's a black dude with a felony warrant who gets stopped during a domestic. I don't care.
Agreed.
Like, we're talking about honoring our ethics and our Constitution and the right to things like due process and to confront your accuser, and you know what I mean? All of
and
those
what
things.
We're getting out of our police force for the money that we're spending. You look at Minneapolis, I think 35% of our budget of your taxes go to the MPD.
Right. And
they have like 30 years worth of unopened rape kits and all this other shit.
Dude,
like,
and every time they fuck up, they get sued.
And we pay for it.
And we pay for it.
And how is
and then that same cop that fucked up ends up back on the force because of a union.
One of the best ideas I heard was more of a privatized insurance. Like, for me, I'm a high-rise window cleaner. If I drop a squeegee and I land that on
I'm down with this idea.
If I land that on your head and I hurt you or kill you, I'm technically responsible and could get manslaughter charges. Yes, I have a union. Yes, I have a company insurance-wise, but there is still some personal liability any way you fucking look at it. You know what I mean? You know, morally, I'm heartbroken. You know, and probably financially, I'm probably responsible. You know, even ethically. Like, let's say this dude's got kids and stuff. Like, how am I not as a human gonna be like, fuck, you know? Right. And all I need to do is put a lanyard on. And a cop's job is not as simple as putting a lanyard on his squeegee and not dropping it. But they're both, like, you know, professional jobs, you know, where you have to have a level of profession, you know, like I watching a live stream yesterday. These people were, you know, looting sacks on 5th, and this big old fat fucking cop is pushing every single looter into the glass and trying to make them fall out the window, because they're all running out. They're not arresting anybody. They're not taking names. They don't give a shit. Pushing every single one of them off. And then, like, later in the live stream, the guy pans 10 minutes later. This same giant fat white cop is literally daintily holding every cop's hand as he steps through, because he doesn't want them to get hurt by the glass, you know? And it's like, he has the ability to see the difference. He 100% knows what he's doing, because it wasn't like every once in a while he bumped into a guy. He was like shoving chicks. Like, this one dude, like, his foot got banged up with the glass and he rolls so out of there and he's like freaking out. He's like, oh my God, this dude's huge. And he's like just trying to run out of there. And as he's jumping, the dude shoves him into the glass. And I'm like, you know, on that same video though, this one dude standing in the rain holding his hands up going, I'm just trying to get my shirt, because his shirt's on the other end of the intersection. He's just sitting there going, trying to get my shirt. All these other people are getting peppered. He's just sitting there holding his hands. Yep. And then this dude throws him his shirt, and the guy, Unicorn Riot or whoever it was like, I can't believe that just happened. You know? It was funny. So funny. I watched the fucking Wisconsin thing, and the fucking NRAP guy, the guy who was talking on the phone, was so nice. He was so he was super de-escalating the situation as they're trying to break the fence and they're shooting different people. There's people like retarded, or I'm sorry, you know, not retarded, but really high, doing dumb shit by the fence and getting shot and just being like, And he's just
well,
like
the definition of retarded is two things. It's slow
yeah, he
and
was that.
preventing progress.
He was I don't know if he was preventing progress, but he was making progress towards that fence and just standing there while he was being slow and getting shot by this stuff. And the guy's like stumbling out of there, and he's like, this is not your crowd, man. You like the NREF guy. He's like, this is not your crowd. This is not your scene. You probably just need to go home,
Right,
because he was like, you're going to show up and get that drunk, like, I don't know. You're not really, in my opinion, you're not really there for the right reasons. It's like, you're just looking for a bar. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's dude, and then here's the thing, dude, is like, it's all fucked.
Yeah.
There's no making sense of any of this.
It's going to be the slogan for 2020.
It's
like
all
the documentary would be called 2020. It's all fucked.
It's all fucked, dude.
And our election is probably going to be a real big curveball.
Have you been playing 2020 bingo?
No, is that a thing?
Sort of. It's sort of like a.
Oh yeah, where they're like, oh yeah, Sharknado is next month.
Right. Yeah, like who had biologically engineered fucking mosquitoes for August or September or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Who had murder hornets for May?
I'd throw money down on that stock exchange.
You know what I mean, dude?
He's taking
it's
bets
so
like
fucking wild.
$500 on Sharknado. I don't know, the fire tornado in California thing.
That was pretty wild.
That was like
the land hurricane in Iowa was insane.
Just don't blink this year. Just don't blink because you're gonna miss it. And I don't know. The movie's gonna be fucking wicked,
dude. The land hurricane in Iowa. Did you hear about that one? Like that's insane.
Joe Scrapolino.
I think they
is
call
from
it
Iowa.
no
from
shit.
Galactic Get Down. Dude, I never even finished my Galactic Get Down story. Now that I remember,
my bad.
No, that's fine. I got off track. But yeah, he's from Iowa. I met him out there. He did a festival out there, and now Seahorse, Vicarious Visions, and Joe all did this awesome festival the last couple of years, Galactic Get Down, and last year was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So I helped them build, with all my prop building experience from movies and commercials, we built like the side of the replica of the lander for Dead Larry, and I put all my lights in there and fog machine.
This is awesome, bro.
But yeah, they're all great people. Jess is amazing. She's a great promoter. She will run that festival so well. She just kicks ass.
That's dope.
Joe is an amazing musician and really good with like people and bands and getting really eclectic great musicians. Like,
right.
I mean, if there's a festival to go to where you want to see local stuff, he had Carnage. He had like awesome
sick.
Yeah, I don't know. You know Carnage?
Rapper here locally. Yep.
Fuck yeah, he's great. I just got I grabbed his fucking CD while he played Galactic because this year
I used to know somebody. I can't place the name right now. Forgive
Minnesota
me.
Mean.
Somebody I know personally used to DJ for Carnage back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Somebody I know closely.
He knows everybody though. He was.
Well, the person I know and I'm close with was his DJ for a period of time. I just can't remember which one of my friends it was. I know it wasn't Kevin because Kevin DJ'd for Chuck U. So that's not who I'm thinking of. Was it my old teacher, Adam Booker? Did he DJ for Carnage? Yeah, I think it was because Idea was his boy. Gonna say, but Idea was his boy for sure. But Idea's DJ was DJ Abilities.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it was my boy Adam, my old music teacher from high school.
That makes sense because I was just listening to his album
Booker
today.
B. Booker B is his
Minnesota
name. Shout out
Mean.
to Booker.
Yeah. Which was really good because it was all about how like getting rid of the, Minnesota Nice is being passive aggressive and fake. Minnesota Mean is about being bold, direct, and real, And it was just a really good message. And he's talking about how, he was doing
I don't know if I like that though.
Well, I'm just saying
Minnesota Nice is really about like shoveling your neighbor's driveway,
which not everybody does anyways.
Well, but most of us do.
Yeah.
I mean, I fucking snowblow for the bottom half of the block pretty much now.
No, I do too. We had a neighbor across the street who was,
I do blind, the people across the street where you seen me come from when you pulled up and I came walking across the street. I do that, which is a duplex.
Yep.
I do the neighbor next door to them, which is also across the street.
You got a plow in your truck then?
No, you got a snowblower.
Oh, yeah,
a beast of a snowblower. And I do theirs because they're my friends. It's a rental property, but I know the owners and they used to live there when we first bought the house and moved in, so I do theirs for them. And I also know the tenants and like have a friendship with the tenants and their kids and shit. Plus, a lot of them are single moms with little kids, right? I do this neighbors because they're directly next door to me.
And you got it out.
What the fuck is going
Is
on?
the curfew popping off or what?
What's going on? We're getting alarms, guys.
Under strict curfew. That's what it's saying. It's the same shit they gave last night.
Man,
You
fuck the
better
government.
go home.
You ain't telling us
Hey,
what the
first
fuck
and foremost,
we're doing.
fuck the curfew. Fuck you. But
Fuck
don't
you,
be going.
fucking-
But don't be going out there to just be, I don't know.
Here's the only reason you should obey curfew. Here's the only
if
reason.
you're under 18 and gonna,
No. If you are
You're a
in the
moron.
area and don't want, like, if you're in the area of the riots and you don't want to be mistaken for a rioter, get the fuck inside during curfew. Because
Yeah.
the National Guard will shoot you. The cops will shoot you post curfew.
Yeah.
And they're legally allowed to. If you're in my neighborhood and the cops or the military roll up, I ain't dipping because
No.
I ain't doing shit wrong.
No, that's what I mean by
I'm
curfew.
protecting against
Yeah.
random individual. I'm not going to call them terrorists. I'm going to call them terrorizers, like the shit we dealt with during the
George
riots.
W. Bush quote: "Terrorizers."
No, they're different though, because like
I feel you. I feel you.
and get that a little closer to you. You keep dropping back.
Sorry, I keep
Um,
dropping back.
Yeah, you don't have to lean up. Pull it back.
Pull
to
it
you so you
back
can be
to me so
comfortable.
that I
yeah,
stop.
be comfortable, man.
There we go.
Yeah. But no, there's a huge difference between terrorists and terrorizers. Terrorists are intentionally attacking civilians with the intent of achieving political gains or aims, right? Terrorizers are people that take opportunity. I'm getting it again.
Yeah,
Or that's you getting it? Which
could
one
be.
of us is
I already
getting
got
again?
it. We're
Turn
both.
your phone off. Jesus Christ. Turn it on silent, dude. Terrorizers are those fucking rogue motherfuckers that showed up during the riots to do shady shit on their own agenda. They weren't trying to achieve anything politically. They were taking advantage of the chaos. Does that make sense? So, like, for example, we busted a few people in the neighborhood that were part of Aryan Nation. There was a rogue random white dude with incendiaries in his vehicle that we busted and arrested. You know the
What did
story.
he have? Like a
I don't know.
gasoline or what?
I don't know the specifics because they didn't run the details, but I know exactly who they're talking about because we saw him in that same red fucking
That red one.
red wagon.
Yeah.
You were here. You seen the red wagon.
Yeah.
Like we seen him during the day, and then he showed up during the night. He was reported over and over and over again, and he had a headlight out as well, so we could tell who he was at night as well. And finally, once the cops had time, they had enough probable cause to simply pull him over for that headlight.
Yeah, right.
And they
I
got him.
pulled over for a fucking headlight.
And they
before.
got him with what I got from my Crime Watch division because I was registered with the city council, the neighborhood watch, the crime watch, and the police department. And so I was getting debriefings and updates. And on the spreadsheet, the official report just said he was arrested and found large amounts of incendiaries in his vehicle. Incendiaries are, it could just be gasoline. They could be Molotov cocktails. It could be
fireworks.
but it's enough. No, that wouldn't be considered
No.
incendiaries.
You
all
light
I
that
know-
on fire.
All I know is that incendiaries indicate some sort of fuel source. So like gasoline soaked cedar,
Propane, anything.
kerosene soaked cedar
Yeah.
combined with fireworks would become an incendiary because you have the cedar and then you can fire the firework at it. You know what I mean? Like Molotov cocktails, clear. That's an incendiary device because you have a fuel and a wick.
Yeah.
So I don't even need a lighter or a spark to make that case. It's very nuanced, but it means it was more than just a guy with fireworks in his backpack. It was something substantial and significant
cool.
where they would refer to it as incendiaries. They're basically weaponized and not necessarily to explode.
Just to fucking fuck
To
shit
burn.
up. Yeah.
I mean, they can explode.
But it's designed to go longer than the brief. Yeah,
Right.
It's there to
Right.
to go for
Like
a while.
Molotov
He wants to light it.
cocktails,
He wants to run away. He wants it to just continue
Correct.
without him having to fucking do shit.
Yep.
You know,
Mhm.
not
And then when we chased off the
not
people,
the fire I'm making in my backyard where I got to sit there with
Correct.
cardboard and go fucking start.
That's
damn
exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. And then just to finish up this stupid point, then because it's locally here within our circle, it's a little bit infamous now already. The shit that went down next door during the riot, which is why I called in backup to start looking for suspicious vehicles, because we saw that happen one day, and then they showed up at 2 a.m. to I don't know do what to my neighbor, but we as a community, the whole neighborhood, confronted them with flashlights and guns and chased them off the block.
Yeah.
I don't think that triplet ever got busted.
Yeah.
But we know shit was going down. And all I'm saying is those are terrorizers.
Agreed,
terrorists are people that are doing with political aims. With
And for me, a
political.
terrorist is someone who is, taking a little bit more time to either train or to organize.
That's cool morally, but that's not what the legal definition
I
is.
guess the legal definition. But I'm
that's
just
the
saying,
point,
I
is
think
like-
of like the 60s, whether you're talking about left or right, I'm thinking about the people who are like, taking planes and building bombs and making a political statement out of a violent act.
Right. Now, here's the difference. If they attack a police station or a government building, technically, by default, it's not terrorism until there's civilians involved.
But how would you? So
like,
how are you not a civilian? You're not. You
So,
have
like,
to hoist
okay-
a flag
Okay,
to be like, I'm a
like for
entity
example,
of Syria or what?
if 9/11 would have only been the Pentagon, technically not terrorists. It's an act of war.
Yeah.
But because they attacked the World Trade Center where there's civilians,
Oh, okay. So when you start attacking civilians, I get what you're saying.
that's exactly the point. So when you attack a target because you're protesting the police, that is by definition domestic terrorism. OKC, and here's why this is important, because the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah.
Timothy McVeigh,
Yep.
for political reasons and motivations, bombed a federal building that had civilians in it. So even though it was a federal building, there were still private offices. There were still private contractors in there that had nothing to do with the government. Boom. Domestic terrorism. And now the reason that's dangerous is because of what they're allowed to do because you're a domestic terrorist.
Yeah. How come you don't hold those same standards to, say, the government, like the ATF, when you talk about like Waco? Because they were definitely attacked and killed civilians.
I do.
Well, I feel you. That's what I'm saying here. Is like I don't understand how
Like that was not cool because
And yeah,
a lot
they
of
did
the
make
information
some
about
changes, but
a lot of the
honestly,
information about Waco is false. Like they never opened fire. They never attacked.
Are you sure?
100%.
Because there was police officers who died, and I'm not defending any,
They were shot in crossfire.
which could have been their own officers, but
And well, hold on.
I'm pretty sure they,
They
shot
may
back.
have
I'm
shot
pretty sure
back.
that first day when they shot back, I'm pretty sure that when those officers went down, I think they lost 5 or 6 officers.
Here's what I do know. Here's what
Which
I do
isn't
know.
all
'cause
friendly fire.
I recently rewatched a lot of that.
I'm not
footage.
even talking about rewatching. I did like a podcast and
Right.
some other stuff.
Here's what I
like,
know.
I learned.
Here's
about
what
it.
I know
little
is
more of
David
it.
Koresh walked out and says, "Please don't shoot. There's women and children in here," and they opened fired on him, and he ducked back inside.
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring to when I say they didn't shoot, they didn't fire. I definitely misspoke when I said they didn't fire back.
Yeah, no,
But-
they didn't use very good de-escalatory tactics.
No, and then they drove over
no,
them in
it was like
tanks.
from like in the beginning, and then after he, dodged those bullets and went back into the door, and I think he got hit twice, once in the hip. And by the way, David Koresh is not like anybody I really want to stand up for. The guy was, a pedophile and whatever.
I don't
married
know,
a
dude.
bunch of different wives.
all the people who went on record,
But I'm just saying.
But here's the thing: is all the people who went on record and said that he had sex with their kids, none of those people can be found for a second interview.
David Trudeau, if you haven't heard of him,
I'll look into it again.
David Trudeau, he's the guy that's even on that Netflix thing. He's the young kid. He has done interviews. I don't know if he's still doing them. He definitely doesn't want to still talking about. The last one that he did was on September 11th, actually, I think 2001. He didn't even know what was going on. No, it was the last one that he did was on Oklahoma the year after. But he did talk about it, and then he did do a book. But the last news interview he did was the same day that the Oklahoma bombing happened, which was on the same anniversary of it.
Gotcha.
And he got asked to marry. So David Koresh had, one of his wives was this woman, and then her child was also a second one of his wives, and he was worried about the police coming and questioning him about child abuse. And stuff.
Let's not get into the character of David Koresh. We're talking about the event.
Yeah,
we're talking about the event.
Anyways, yeah.
They
definitely shot back that first day.
Okay,
and the police did not use very good de-escalatory tactics at all.
And then eventually they drove over the complex in tanks.
Yeah, they ran over their cars. They ran over the dead body that they had buried. They ran over the school bus, which crushed, so that if you believe Netflix, that all those kids ran to that school bus to try to leave, and the top was smushed down, and so they had nowhere to go. You know, there's plenty of stories to go either way with that. Like there was a bunch of walls of hay that he could have easily been the one to set the fire and release his 7 SEALs that he's talking about.
But most importantly, philosophically, technically, you would be correct. Like, our own government attacked civilians for political aims.
Yeah.
Because they were afraid. And here's the thing is, they didn't roll up on pedophilia charges.
No, they ran up on gun charges because
they were stockpiling weapons.
Preparing
for the
which they never got evidence of.
Correct. That's why, again, it's like,
no WMDA. What?
Right.
Yeah.
WMDs. Yep.
Yeah. WMDs.
Yeah. You're talking about
WMDA.
9/11, excuse.
Yeah.
It's true though, because like we were duped with that as well. And it's like, how many times do the American people have to be duped by the media and the government to fucking before we realize like whatever information we're being given, we need to step back, take a breath, and wait on it, sleep on it, pray on it, whatever cliche you want to use before we decide to act. Like we become so reactionary, and we've seen it after 9/11.
Well, and I got friends on both sides.
It's only gotten worse now,
I got friends on both sides of the issue, whether they're right or left or far, whatever. Every single one of them does not trust the government. And our whole system, this whole fucking constitution,
that's my favorite thing that's going on in 2020.
Is built on, checks and balances. And I guess my biggest point is there's plenty that we all actually do agree on when you think about it, as far as like legitimate checks and balances, so that say the ATF can't commit technical terrorism under their own laws. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That to me makes, if we get anything out of this, it should be, and like nobody loves bureaucracy and shit taking longer. So I'm not saying like add 40 steps to make it impossible to be an ATF agent or whatever, but legitimate checks and balances. We have technology now. I mean, okay, let's just take voting. I don't
think you're being unreasonable when you're saying these things though, because the bottom line is like virtually every system has these checks and balances of accountability, and one thing most people agree on is we don't have on the left and on the right, maybe on separate issues.
Yeah.
But everyone is seeming to come, and I've said this. This is what I was saying. This is my favorite thing about 2020, is that everyone, all my lefty friends, are starting to say and honestly admit we can't trust the government.
No.
They don't give a fuck about us.
No.
And they legitimately oppress us. The more and more power they give us, they hold the more and more of us down. So bottom line is, and I said this on that Facebook post, and I've said it on the podcast 100 times already, I'm liberal. I'm not a liberal, but I'm liberal. And the reason I'm liberal is because of my conservative beliefs. And that's what my principles are based on, which is less government, because the government is never going to be able to decide what's best for not only you, but let alone everyone. So whether it's in business or whether it's in our private lives, I don't want the government involved as much as possible. The only reason I want government involved, and I brought this up with Jamal, who's like a huge libertarian, right?
Sure.
The only place I want the government involved is to provide checks and balances, because we know people are disgusting. And I'm not even attacking corporations right now. They're in this discussion. Well, that's
don't
not my
forget,
point.
Corporations are people now. So
well,
you can definitely attack
without
the
getting
shit out of them.
But without getting too philosophical, because here's the thing, is a lot of my right-wingers and a lot of my libertarian friends who didn't watch that podcast are about to eat me alive right now. And they're like, no, fine, you can fucking regulate the corporations, but get them out of my personal life because the government has no business in it. True, to a point. And here's where that point draws a line. If you're a hunter or you're a fisher and you're super pro 2A and super small government, you also understand, because you've been out there in nature hunting and fishing, why we have and why we absolutely need the DNR, which is the government.
Well, yeah, and
I've never heard a fisher or a hunter complain about the DNR unless there's some weird like roadkill law where like you find a perfectly fresh deer on the side of the road because it got hit. You know what I mean? By a truck or something. And like there's no, you can clearly tell it's a brand new fresh kill. In certain states at certain times in the last 40 years, you either have or have not been able to just pick up that deer, throw it in your truck, and go turn it into meat and food.
Yeah.
In certain states, you'd be forced by law to leave that there to rot on the side of the road.
In most
that's again where the government went too far, and it's like, no, fuck off. Like, I know this deer is fine. I'm taking this deer. I'm bringing it to my fucking garage. I'm hanging it. It's already dead. I'm going to turn it into meat, and I'm going to feed my family for a year. But every other example of the DNR, thumbs up from everybody involved, because they know when you go camping, you see the garbage, you see the fucking cans and the bottles and the lakes. You understand as a hunter and a fisher, like, we as civilians can't control every other civilian. So we need some sort of government entity that we volunteer and
to check
we need
and balance,
to do checks and balances and keep other people under control. And that applies to corporations, because we know they'll dump chemicals in a lake and give everyone cancer. We know they'll do those things.
We need you don't want your 7-year-old eating that fish and you not knowing.
Exactly.
You don't need a fucking test.
Nailed it.
You shouldn't be testing fish to make sure, like, I don't know. And
you nailed it.
Every hunter and fisher I've ever met, the reason they like that is because they get to go out for the weekend, and they're expressing themselves, in the most American way they can think of. They get to go hunt some food, catch some fish, grill it up. And, if you haven't been to Yellowstone National Park, that is the fountain of youth. That is what people were actually looking for. And if you don't understand conservation, you need to go there, because that was the first national park, and it's still the most beautiful in America. I haven't been to every national park. I've been to a couple. I've been to a fair amount. I've been to Yellowstone a lot, though, and it is the epitome of what,
Oh, you did your little Illuminati symbol. Now everyone thinks you're a conspiracy theorist.
I love conspiracies.
Yeah, but now when you did that, now you're in the Illuminati.
I was like, okay.
That was like,
I like Yellowstone.
Or on the other side, now you're a white supremacist, because that means white power.
I'm not either of those. It's just like a hand thing.
I know, right?
Because
here's the thing: is if I go like this, now it's the keychain
with the punch,
and I get to
punch.
I get to give you a slugger.
Yeah,
right. Yep.
No, I'm not. No, I love conspiracy theories, but you give them whatever. My favorite one is the Beatles one where Paul McCartney is dead. Not because I think it's real, but because I loved.
I've heard of this one. Yeah.
I got into it for like a week, and then I loved listening to every single Beatles song,
and
like what is different light. And I was like,
is it a clone or is it an alien that's running around as Paul McCartney?
Bullshit, now? I'm sure, but it was
obviously, but I forget what that conspiracy is.
The one that
the real Paul McCartney died a while ago
in '66. He died in '66.
And so and
then he was found in Canada, and then they did like this whole plastic surgery thing, and then that guy died, and they made another Paul McCartney. But I don't know. You look at Paul McCartney's kid, and he kind of looks exactly like Paul McCartney.
That's fucking hilarious.
I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious. I just like listening to every Beatles song with or Wings with a whole new light. Like, what if he did die? What if he's just trying to tell the story? Like, I don't know. Yeah, sure. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I love listening to it. I'm not going to vote with my conspiracy theory, though. You know what I mean? I'm I'm gonna pay attention more than I don't know.
Yeah. It's. I love conspiracy theories too, because honestly, here's the thing: is if you could somehow write a list of every conspiracy theory out there.
A lot of them have little inklings of truth.
That's what I was just going to say.
And then people just exaggerate.
Right.
You know, it's like getting...
That's what I was just going to say.
It's like getting a fourth generation family story of your great uncle who was in the Union Civil War. You know?
Man.
He just took out a whole fleet with a boat, you know. He just rammed that thing in there and it all set on fire and he sailed away. You know, I don't know.
And the reason I love them is because if you're up on them and you're good at it, you can figure out which ones are true and fake before they're proven or disproven.
Yeah.
You can suss it out and go, this one's real. And they go, well, there's no evidence to prove it yet. And you go, well, or they say, is what a responsible person should say is all your evidence is circumstantial. Well, again, here's the thing, is in a real court of law, if you have enough circumstantial evidence, you can and will get a conviction. But you have to have overwhelming amounts of it, right? Mm-hmm. That's where we're able to intellectually come to a conclusion and say, no, this one's real, this one's legit. And they say, but you don't have any hard evidence. There's no documents. I don't need them. And then all of a sudden, 20 years later or 10 years later, something resurfaces or comes to the light. And all of a sudden, it's like, this is validated and it's true. And then everyone's like, yeah, obviously. It's like, no. Y'all called us crazy 10 years ago when we said X, Y, and Z. But they're not all true. But they all have nuggets of truth.
Well,
and then they run with them. So it's fun to be able to suss them out and figure out which ones are bullshit and which ones are true. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like predicting football picks. You know, like it's like being a sports nut. It's like and that's really oh my God, that's a great analogy. It's like a sport.
Yeah, no, I'm not like a sports guy, but I do like watching conspiracy theories and going
figuring out which one's legit, which one's not. Like, because here's the thing is
my whole thing is I pretend like I'm not going to be like, yeah, I know exactly. I just like going like, what the fuck? Wow, maybe aliens did start civilization, you know, but then the guy starts doing this all the time on Ancient Aliens, and they got 7 seasons,
my favorite one.
And I'm like,
here's my favorite one.
I'm not on board anymore, man.
Here's my favorite one.
In the beginning.
Here's my favorite one recently.
Yeah.
Pizzagate.
No, it's not my favorite one at all.
Here's why it's my favorite one. Here's why it's my favorite one. Because that one is like 51% true and 49% complete exaggerated bullshit.
I tried to bring Paul here, and Paul would have lots to say to you about Pizzagate.
Here's the thing.
I have no knowledge on it other than what people have told me.
I'll give you the bullet points. I'll give you the bullet points.
It's
the symbols.
Infuriating.
The symbols.
Symbols?
The symbols are on the FBI website as known pedophile symbols as a secret communication used through the dark web. So when you're walking through the city and you're going up somewhere, like, you know, when you see certain symbols, like the triangle within the triangle within the triangle, the single line
that's not just Freemason symbols, that's pedophilia symbols?
That specific one. And that's what fucking Comet Pizza had as their logo, is the pizza was that pedophilia
and is
triangle.
That where
and here's the thing, is that sounds like a conspiracy.
No, is that where the conspiracy
the FBI
comes from?
Had that on their website, and there's different versions of them, right? So this symbol is like, this is where you go. This is this is for little boys. This symbol's for the FBI had that shit on their own website. So that part's real. Okay. Well, and then they said, well, it's where it's false is they're going, the Clintons are in on it. And then all of a sudden Jeffrey Epstein comes out, and there's a direct link between his sex trafficking ring and Bill Clinton. I almost said George Clinton. I almost said George Clinton.
On the island and on the flight log.
Yep, 26 times.
Sure.
So now that connection doesn't seem irrational. That's all I'm saying, right? So when you look at all these pieces and they're spun in one light, you go, that's insane. But then a year or two later, 5 years later, whenever things unfold, all of a sudden Jeffrey Epstein comes to light, and he has a direct connection with pedophilia, underage sex trafficking, and Bill Clinton him fucking self.
No,
and then all the other motherfuckers around the Clintons, Podesta, and all those other creepy motherfuckers that have pictures and paintings of little kids being hung and they're naked, and it's the creepiest pedo shit you've ever seen.
I don't know all this. I did watch.
It's a full-blown conspiracy.
No,
that
I get
sounds insane, but this is one of those ones that I'm saying, as an expert theorist, This one is not bullshit. I'm not saying it's 100% true, but this is not the flat Earth. This is not. I'm trying to think of it. Remember the 9/11. Remember the 9/11.
Weinstein. You got Epstein. You got
the Catholic Church.
All this shit.
You remember the 9/11 no plane theory? Do you remember that one?
No plane.
So there's different versions of each conspiracy as well. So like 9/11, there was different versions.
Where it was a hologram plane?
Yeah, there was never a plane. And it was just
that's
bombs.
the same shit I hear from people who aren't in Minneapolis right now.
Right.
Who are saying like everything's completely staged. I'm like, I've worked on camera shoots. I've been on stages. Mm-hmm. I've done stage stuff.
Yep.
Like
you see what I'm getting at now?
Yeah, so it's
there's
not a hologram.
There's different levels and different versions, and that's why I bring up the no planer. Like the no plane theory is complete horseshit. Like, dude, planes flew into those buildings. And then there's another version of the same conspiracy, which is like, yes, they were planes, but those planes were landed, deboarded,
and then
they sent
planes
up a drone
that had
plane.
the drone plane.
Right,
I've
that's
heard
a version, right? And then there's another version where it's like, no, those were the planes with civilians, but there was explosions pre-planned in the buildings because they knew it was going to happen. They let it happen, and then they demoed the building to make it collapse, to make it worse. And then my point is I'm not saying any of these are true. I'm saying even the 9/11 conspiracy theorists don't agree on the version of their conspiracy.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying this Pizzagate thing, there's probably different versions of this conspiracy.
Sure.
And there's a version of it that is no longer looking like bullshit. In fact, it's looking to be 100% true. That's one version of
100% is a statement you might want to walk back from. But I do believe
it's looking.
I do believe
it's looking like it's 100% true.
Looking and then 100% don't necessarily like work out, because looking like it could be true.
But if you have enough circumstantial evidence,
all I'm saying,
can get a
all
conviction.
I'm saying is, like, if you know anything about Freemasonry, they were.
Let me put it this way.
Hold on, they were big fans of symbols and stuff. And I'm not trying to defend any of this, but what I'm saying is, like, that's kind of probably where, like, what's the Eyes Wide Shut type conspiracy stuff starts coming.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that these people aren't doing some weird ass shit, like, because they're billionaires and they're bored and they need new crap. And I don't understand why a government, if government can't take care of its children, I don't know what it's actually doing with all the resources and money we're giving to them. Right. So by all means, go after and prove me wrong that there's a giant pedophile ring within your government. If you think that what's going down in Minneapolis is a big fucking deal, wait until they release that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Right? I don't know. If you think it's a problem now, wait until they uncover that. Right. Because there's not a family in the country that is not, like, I don't know. Nobody wants that. Nobody fucking wants to be enabling that, much less hearing about it.
Where are you on the alien conspiracy? Like, are you up to date on that?
Alien? Are you talking about bingo again?
No, I'm talking about, like, actual alien conspiracies. And are you keeping up with that?
I don't keep up. I don't keep up on any of it. I just enjoy
as they come.
Every once in a while.
Have you heard this one? Have you heard this one?
Okay.
This is the newest conspiracy, and again, based in 100% truth.
Perfect. I love your verbiage.
The Pentagon actually.
They released a bunch of stuff during the riots.
I'm going to quote the Pentagon. We recovered craft and materials not made on Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't mean there's aliens. That means the Pentagon said exactly what I quoted, and that is now fueling a conspiracy that the Pentagon flat out admitted there's aliens. That could just mean that there's a private company or another government that has some sort of space station where they're building craft, and our United States government recovered something that we can verify is not made on Earth. Like, maybe they needed some zero gravity tech to design what they did.
Well,
it could just be that. It could even be our own government some black ops operation.
Conspiracies that I heard that there's not much to go on, but from what I did hear, makes sense. The reason they disbanded NASA is because the Air Forces had their own space stuff going on for a while, and they didn't want to be spending the money on both things. And the space thing,
NASA. No, here's why I can tell you that's not right.
They've been able to, like, I don't know.
Here's why I can tell you that conspiracy.
If you were the government though, and you were making spaceships, you wouldn't.
Here's why I can tell you
put it under the Air Force.
Here's why I can tell you that's not true, because I'm obsessed with space and NASA.
Okay,
and here's what's
I love it.
And here's what's going on. NASA is making a comeback on that, but there's political ramifications behind everything, and it goes from the presidency who makes the decision, right? So whether you're talking about Nixon abandoning the rocket program to get back to the moon and eventually to Mars, Nixon decided that was too risky because they just had a fucking explosion and there was budget issues. So they decided to go with the shuttle program, right? And then towards the end of the shuttle program during the Bush administration, we had another problem. So he shut that down. And basically over the last 20 years, NASA has gone to a reevaluation phase, and they've outsourced their contracts to get to the space station and back. So for a while, we were contracting literally the Russians to get
now we're with
Americans.
SpaceX.
Correct. So is the first step was, and they have a 2-part partnership. So the first step was to stop using the Russians and the Chinese to get us into outer space to the ISS. The second phase was to start using American companies. Okay. And so there's 2 things happening. They realized that, and NASA's still developing their own technology to do these things, but right now they have a dual contract, and it's not a competition contract, but it also is. And basically they've engaged Boeing and SpaceX to develop 2 different types of technology for 2 different purposes.
Yeah.
To get American astronauts into space. And basically the winner of one is going to get the monopoly contract with SpaceX to do that objective, and then the other company is going to get a non-monopoly contract to
participate.
To do the other expeditions.
One's the shuttle, one's the lander.
Sure, whatever.
However the equation works.
And I don't know enough
or the rover.
I don't know enough about the details to get into the nuances of what all that means, but this is what I heard directly from the head of NASA explaining this in a long-form interview.
And all I'm saying was that
actually it was a podcast a lot like this. It wasn't Rogan. It was a different podcast.
Conspiracy Air Force wing. What they're really, if it is true, which I haven't heard a lot. I'm not claiming to know anything other than what I've heard, but it was like they get to.
You're specifically talking about Space Force. That is a real thing now.
Not even Space Force. I'm just talking about an Air Force that is trying to.
You're saying the Air Force wing, which now they named Space Force. It's an official division.
So I guess I am right.
Yeah.
But they get to avoid by doing public launches with NASA. They get to avoid the public turmoil of destroying a teacher in 1998 or whatever.
Here's the difference. NASA, is a joint operation of private funding through fundraising money, taxpayer dollars for science and
aeronautical something.
Shit like that, right? Yeah. Whereas the Space Force is a straight up
security
military division
to lock down space and limit China's ability to claim it with a flag.
Correct. And not only that, but to just defend us actively, to actually have people up there
and do that Star Wars missile program if the nukes shoot off.
Right, because we may not be able to completely depend on tech and satellites to protect us anymore. So we might need people up there with the ability to make judgment calls on the fly and have their own jurisdiction, like the Navy in the water, the Army on the land, the Air Force in the sky. And that's why it's not preposterous. And I was super for this, actually, believe it or not, is because the Air Force was originally part of either the Army or the Navy.
The Army.
And then they branched that off because they were like, no. The skies need to be their own territory. Like it needs to be under its own specialized training and deal. And so that's really just an evolutionary thought process of how we got Space Force. Like I'm actually super into Space Force. And I don't think there's a conspiracy
I don't know
there.
Enough. I don't think
there's a conspiracy there. But I think they're super open about what it is and what they're doing.
Now that they came out with it this year, but I think I heard about this before Space Force was a thing, and it made total sense because they get
I see what you're saying.
They get to not have the public execution on film where the missile fails. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like putting the teacher in the shuttle and having it explode was not a good publicity move.
But that would still happen. That teacher would still be on a NASA flight because it would be science-based, not military.
Unless you didn't know about it and the military did it, and then that just happened. And
that'd be like a journalist or a scientist dying in a fucking army truck on an IED.
Exactly. It minimizes the political jeopardy by going that route.
I see what you're saying, and that might be true.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that's wrong.
I can't tell you that I'm 100% right either. So,
but I definitely can't say you're wrong. But I do know that if it's purely a science-based thing and there's no military applications, that those type of people are still going to end up being on the science side of things, which means it's going to default to a NASA type deal.
Sure.
Because that's for science and research and technology and things like that. Whereas the Space Force is going to be for straight up military protection. And yeah, maybe it's literally just making sure that the Chinese or the Russians don't militarize the moon.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Star Wars was, is who can get the higher satellite orbit, who can get the higher missile altitude, because that's how you shoot things down. Literally, I don't think a lot of people understand this, but you have like the ground, literally, right? And you go, well, our missile can shoot so high that it comes down like this. So you go, well, we have a missile that can shoot higher. So when yours comes up, even if yours is way up here, we can shoot ours later, and as yours is coming down, we can target it or get it in the cross stream and whatever.
I thought it was like
literal satellite technology as well.
See, I was thinking like Austin Powers with like the satellite with the missile in it.
There might be some of that kind of shit. There might be like lasers that are involved up there.
Sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their foreheads.
But
because that conspiracy is a good one too.
Is the theory and the fear is that everyone will try to get higher and higher outside altitude. Like on a logistical level, you think about getting the higher ground, and then the key is if you can get control of the moon, then you have the highest ground possible. So that's where the end of Star Wars came in. We were like, we passed that treaty. We're not going to weaponize and militarize the moon. Nobody's
did do
allowed
a treaty to not weaponize the moon.
They did. They absolutely 100% did. And that's actually what Reagan's Star Wars was about, is like that was the end of the Cold War, because everybody was seeing the end right away. It was like, we just keep building more and more bigger and badder nukes, and we keep trying to get higher into space because we're paranoid each other's going to shoot each other down. Let's fucking make this treaty. Nobody gets to colonize or weaponize or militarize the moon.
No, we should just put Pink Floyd up there and have a show.
That'd be the best.
I would be there.
You know who the modern day... the modern day
Elon Musk. Hook me up with those tickets.
The modern day Pink Floyd to me, as far as like experimental and like all over the place, now they're way more rocking and upbeat. But dude, I'm still on a fucking Coheed trip, dude. Do you listen to any Coheed and Cambria? I think they're the best fucking band on the planet. Dude.
No, I haven't listened to that since high school. Have you heard Spangle? They're way trippier than Coheed and Cambria.
It's not about being trippy. It's about making prolific music while experimenting with different sounds and instruments.
Spangle, still.
I've never heard of Spangle. Do they even have any hit songs? Pink Floyd has
a lot I'm not talking about hit songs.
Spangle sounds like the modern day Fish.
No.
Minus maybe the jam band thing.
Spangle is like...
Or do they literally sound like Pink Floyd? Because I'm being metaphorical.
No, they don't sound like Pink Floyd. They use really weird... It's electronica. But they use all this weird-ass sound and make the weirdest album. Like... I like my favorite thing. I mean, if you guys ever check out Space Monster, the first two albums, the thing that I like the most about producing them was making a story.
Where do people find Space Monster if they want to check it out?
Right now, I don't think it's online. We did like a couple of those contracts for like the year, and we're trying to switch over to a permanent online thing where you pay once and then it stays on there forever.
Okay.
So, and that's just been kind of a process with everything else that's going on. But
gotcha.
But the thing I liked about Dark Side of the Moon was there wasn't a focus on one track. You didn't make an album to make one track. This was your hit. It had the album was
it's called the concept album.
Yeah, well, no, not even. But the album was the entity. That was the piece.
They wrote a collection of songs as a large piece of art.
Was that thing, and so like what I loved about
the songs blended together, the transitions went in and out of each other.
The first two albums of Space Monster are like that, where I was really going for how does this one go into the next one? How do we make sections that just really sound good that flow into the next one? And Spangle is electronica, which isn't something that I'm like, I haven't been to a Spangle show. I'm not the biggest electronic live person.
Spongle.
So every once in a while,
It's such a ridiculous
every
name,
once in a
dude.
while, it's SPHONGL. So it is weird spelled. But yeah, every time I go to electronic show live, I only need a little bit. It's just hard to like get into. But their albums
It's such a ridiculous name.
are awesome. Like, like they have that Dark Side of the Moon quality where everything is flowing. You don't know what
Right.
what instrument they're playing. If you ever listen to Ummagumma,
Nope.
Ummagumma is a really weird Pink Floyd album. It's 2 parts, and it sounds like
Wait.
like
Yes, I have.
squirrels are
Yes, I have.
fighting.
Yeah,
and shit.
yes, I have.
And they have some weird ass modern day stuff like
See,
that.
I'm a
where
huge Pink Floyd fan, but
it
I'm a
tickles
huge
your
like
brain in a weird way.
I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, but I'm the like basic bitch version of a
The
Pink Floyd
Wall.
fan.
You like The Wall?
Dark Side, The Wall,
I don't hate The Wall.
Metal's cool.
Yeah,
and-
Metal's the shit. Animals.
Animals is cool.
Animals is what I'm talking about because they were going for like a soundtrack to a movie that was never made.
Have you ever heard Pink Floyd's original music?
I don't understand that question because we were
'Cause
just
the
talking
name-
about original music.
The
you
name
talking-
Pink Floyd never changed, but
You're talking about the singer who went crazy on acid.
no,
What are
I'm
you
not
talking about?
talking about Sid.
Sid Barrett.
I'm not talking about Sid. I'm talking about their original music.
Inform me because
1950s, straight up bubblegum pop.
Oh.
Sounded exactly like the Beatles. Have
You ever listen to
heard it?
original Judas Priest then? Because that dude was in bell bottoms.
Dude, original Pantera.
Yeah, I bet.
Glam
and
metal.
Selmo with eyeliner.
Glam metal. That's exactly what I'm talking about, dude. But the
Dude.
names of their bands never changed. That's the best part about what we're saying is like fucking Judas Priest was still Judas Priest. They
Yeah.
didn't even change their name.
He was in the,
Yeah, dude.
he had that
Pantera
shirt
didn't
that just
change their
flowed.
name. Pink Floyd didn't change their name or their lineup. They just completely changed their styles. I mean, the Beatles are known for it. None of these other bands are because the Beatles were famous in their first version
During
which
their
is
whole
the bubblegum
change.
pop.
They were allowed to change publicly, and everybody accepted it
The whole time.
At least at some level.
Yep, because they had a sound when they got popular. They had a sound when they changed, and they had a sound when they ended. They were a 3-decade band.
The only band I could compare that to, and I don't think the band would appreciate it, but Chili Peppers have done a really good job of
Yeah,
being able to stay somewhat relevant. And I bet after they're gone, that music is going to become, far more important.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of that Lennon Beatles stuff was really soaked up a lot more afterwards. You look at some of his shows.
that's why I bring up Coheed is because I think they're doing it, and they're one of those bands that's pumping out an album almost a year.
Cool.
And they're all bangers.
Good.
They're not doing this 2 to 3, 4 year run between albums like some of my other favorite bands, like a Protest the Hero or a Misery Signals or even a Metallica now, right?
Although Metallica's, I want to check out their new S&M
then
album.
S&M. I'll check it out because I'm a huge Metallica.
I know, and I love that S&M album.
Yeah, it was really good. It was amazing.
No, it's
It's fucking.
a good sound system with the orchestra. You're just like, wow. I mean, if I can
and the
find
two
a,
originals they
I need
put
a
on that
stereo
album were
with
awesome.
surround sound, and I'm going to check that out because that's how you do an orchestra. You can't,
Right.
if you've ever
Right,
been
like with the
if
multi-speaker.
you've ever been
surround sound
live with an
system.
orchestra or at a play with an orchestra, you understand that you
Right.
need the full
Dude,
body experience.
Did you see the Game of Thrones orchestra when it was in town?
No,
It was breathtaking.
I heard about Hodor and his DJ shit.
Dude, no, and he's also a badass metal guitar player, but I'm talking about the actual fucking orchestra that literally recorded and played all the Game of Thrones
So then they
music.
came to town. That's
They
cool.
they started here. They debuted the tour here, and it was the guy who wrote all the Game of Thrones music is the director of the orchestra. He was there that night. They brought up jumbotrons. They had pyros.
Why Minnesota for?
They started at the Excel Center. That's where they decided to debut the tour.
I know the Minnesota Orchestra is.
Nope, they didn't use our guys.
No, I know, but I know Minnesota
Actually, maybe they
Orchestra
did.
is like one of
They-
the better. Is really
Actually, they did. They supplemented their orchestra with ours, and maybe that is why they started here, is because they knew they could start off strong.
well that orchestra is super professional and is rated really high. I don't want to put numbers that I'm not sure of. But they are really good and they're world renowned. And
You know,
so
and there might be a
that
personal
makes-
connection between
that
him
makes
and
sense.
somebody here. Like, you know how the music
Well,
business
and
works,
the
dude.
the stages here, Guthrie, wherever they played.
They debuted at the Excel Center.
Oh, Excel.
Yeah,
it's not the best sound, but I get it,
dude. But they had pyros. They had big screen TVs that they coincided the music with different scenes and shit from the TV show, and the pyros changed color to green when they started doing like the wildfire. I don't know if you're a fan of Game of Thrones. I was obsessed.
I watched enough of it.
Yeah. So it was amazing. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fucking badass, dude. And you can see, if anybody's interested, I'm sure you can find videos online of that tour. Right. It was fucking dope, dude. It was one of those things I'll never forget. Kate and I got super dressed up. We got really good tickets, like expensive tickets, but the seats sucked once we were there. Once we were there, we realized these weren't the best seats. So we fucking went up and we walked around and played classic concert goers, but in reverse. So we left. Well, you can hang out a little bit longer, but we're going to have a heart out here. Grab a beer, but we're going to have a heart out here for the viewers that wonder why this episode's a little shorter. Go ahead. In about 12 minutes, we got to have a heart out because we got to fucking get out of here for curfew. And I just don't want to go for 3 hours because then we'll lose track of time and he'll be here till 11 or midnight. And then we got fucking issues with him getting home with the cops and the military and shit. So we're going to do oh shit. Will you pop that back up on that hook? Damn, look at that shit. Yep, there you go. Nice, bro. Look at you. See, look, X fucking production.
Yeah.
You clearly knew exactly what was going on and how to fix it, man. Holy fuck, that was amazing. I'm actually really impressed. But yeah, we got to have a heart out we got to have a heart out on the podcast because whether we hang out for another hour or two is irrelevant. At least at that point we can make, we got to go now.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're doing a podcast and we're distracted and all of a sudden it's 9, 10 o'clock and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck, we get out of here.
The nice thing is I don't have to take a single freeway to get home from here.
Right.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's all back roads. Yep.
And if the fact that every state trooper and police officer is going to be sitting in riot gear somewhere else, the odds of me having any issues are pretty slim in my opinion.
Yeah, you just don't want to get caught in the middle of a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's really
I do care more about the paint on my car than I probably do about,
And what you just said is also what everyone else also knows about the same situation.
That's
they're
true.
Advantageous little fucks.
No, that's why I got
up in pockets.
That's why I got the bear mace in case I get a bad red light.
Exactly.
Like, who the fuck are you trying to get in my car right now? Just calm your shit.
Yep. But yeah, so we're gonna have a heart out here in a few minutes. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Oh, we were talking about the orchestra thing. Yeah, if you guys are interested, check it out. Look that shit up online. The Game of Thrones. It was fucking amazing. It was so cool, and we were doing this thing in reverse where we actually snuck into shittier, cheaper seats because we realized that it was a better view than our premium high. Because I bought like almost front row seats.
But it didn't give you the sound quality you wanted.
No, the sound was amazing. But it's fucking,
but the view was like
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. And we had this amazing view on a part of the orchestra, but we were so fucking close.
You're limited on the whole
thing.
thing.
It was like, and so I talked to Kate. We went up to I don't remember what we grabbed, a beer or that's probably what it was. We grabbed a beer and a drink for her. And I was like, how do you feel about us getting better seats? And she was like, how do we get better seats? And I was like, we actually back up and get worse seats.
Yeah.
So we snuck upstairs. And I think we were able to. We didn't even have to sneak upstairs. We were like, we have the bottom row tickets. But we want to go up here and just peek.
They don't care.
And then once we got up there and we just walked in, we found it was amazing because we went the debut night and it wasn't even sold out.
Yeah.
So right there, the front row,
perfect
on the second level, was completely empty.
Balcony, huh?
Yep, that's exactly what the vibe was. So we had this perfectly centered, elevated view, and we were able to, and there was a concession stand directly behind us.
Get your $14 beer.
So the next time I wanted my $14 beer, or $11 beer, I think it was, I was able to at least grab it and get back to my seat within a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Within a minute. It was amazing. There was nobody up there.
You could eyeball the line.
Yep. There was nobody up there. It was fucking great. It was one of the coolest things.
I love doing that in old theaters. That's my favorite.
Yep.
Is like I usually do end up getting the seat closer to the bottom and then intermission or whatever. Love meandering up to the balcony. there's some theaters that we played in like Wisconsin and stuff, or like I've been to a wedding where they like it came in more on the side, and it was like we got a great little spot.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, we still got 8 minutes, dude, before we got to have our heart out. But let's start wrapping this up. Where can people find your shit? It's Facebook, right? So
yeah, Facebook, Space Monster Band.
Yep, that's what it is. Space Monster Band at Facebook or
we'll
on
be,
Facebook.
We'll be on Spotify here soon. If you're watching this, not on this date, and a month or two later, you'll probably be able to check out Space Monster on Spotify or Apple Music.
Good call.
Like I said, I just we're in between. We're in between right now.
You're in between jobs, basically.
We're in between musical internet promoters.
Right.
Is I guess the word.
All right, well, dude, let's do this again. I want to do a longer one, a more relaxed one, because you kind of bailed me out and came in last minute. We didn't even get into that, but we don't need to. I mean, it's understandable. It's fucking chaos out there, and you live close enough to where
let's do one with a third person, so that I don't feel we'll get we'll get a good little.
No, I just want to say this was actually a ton of fun.
Good.
And I don't want you to feel or anybody else to feel like I'm cutting this short because it's not great or we're having fun. We just special circumstances.
We want to be able to make decisions, adult decisions that aren't from a basement 2 hours ago.
Right. Exactly.
We walk up there and be like, "Fuck, I'm sleeping here and working tomorrow."
Exactly. So, but yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, we'll fucking figure it out. We'll bring a third dude on. It'll be fun, dude. We'll do it again, man.
I think it'll be good.
All right, guys. If you like, subscribe, hit the bell, and if you want to follow me on any of the social media, it's all Jared Singer Live, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. In fact, I put that shit up on the banner now, so if you just go to the YouTube page, up in the top right corner in that banner, there's 3 little icons. You can get to my socials and follow me right there. Peace out, guys.
Later.